You're muted, Joe. Awesome.
Perfect. Starting the week off right.
Welcome to SJU. You know what's not muted? The straight fire that is the Ayer cut, which David Ayer just watched and definitely exists. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Plus, we're going to answer your questions from chat. And we got a little more Star Trek Discovery content coming your way from our own Riley Silverman. Joining me today to talk this straight Joker fire, we have Eric Goldman. Hey, man.
Hello there.
And the fresh fade, Spencer Gilbert in the house.
Reporting for duty, Joe.
Yeah, Ayer's Roughnecks. So, we live in a world where there's not a whole ton of entertainment news going on, except that it's leaving. But today, David Ayer hit the Twitters, and he said, you know what? I took the hits like a good soldier when the studio cut hit the streets. It's who I am. I watched my cut for the first time since it was abandoned. It's bleeping amazing. Oh, he said on God. I think he meant
on God.
Oh God, I felt guilty for years, like I effed up. Nope, it's fire. It's the tone of the original Comic-Con trailer, 100%. So, the Ayer cut, it exists. It's fire. We've talked about the Ayer cut a little bit on the show before, like what could it be? Would they ever release it? That kind of thing. But today we actually went back and we watched the original Comic-Con trailer. So I want to talk a little bit about like what is that movie? And Eric, you're probably a little more educated than me as to like what actually definitely got cut and what went in and stuff like that. And then I also want to talk about the weird like idea of David Ayer just bearing the Suicide Squad cross for as long as he has, because that's a weird feeling to be a creator that like flubbed a franchise. That sucks. Let's discuss first of all, Ayer cut, fire, not fire.
On God, off God,
right?
Oh, God, off God.
Lukewarm. I mean, I will say, watching that trailer again, I was like, "Oh, that's a really good trailer." Because I remember my relationship with Suicide Squad is complicated. When I first saw the picture, remember they released the picture of them all lined up, and I was and the Joker picture, and I was like, I don't know what this look is. I hated the Joker look, but then with everyone else, I'm like, why are they so dirty? Why are they so grungy? But then I saw the Comic-Con trailer. I was like,
One thing's to be clear. Sorry, Eric. They are led by Katana. Very clear from those two promotional
Katana
images.
is their
They literally have her back in that photo.
Yes, they do. But yeah, then that trailer was really good. And rewatching it, I go, oh, this is really good. And it does show you a lot because almost all that footage, again, I have not revisited Suicide Squad in a while. But I think most of the footage of that trailer is in the final film. There might be some exceptions. But it really shows you how different music can change everything and just the feel of it. Because watching that trailer, I was like, oh, this looks like a good movie again, you know? And I do wonder, because we know with the theatrical cut that there was a lot of Joker things cut. We also know there was a lot of re-editing and like all those, I think all the intros and how they keep changing songs a million times and stuff. That came about in the editing later.
Yeah, this is pre that trailer house being given the job to cut.
Right. And watching this, I go, well, maybe if you remixed it, if a different edit, yeah, like I do wonder, there's still some things I wonder in the movie that I still would have cringed about, but it was kind of cool to look back at that trailer and be like, wow, this feels different.
Special Staff Sergeant Spencer J. Gilbert.
Yes.
Your thoughts on the cut?
The cut, man. I don't know. I watched that trailer. It is cool. It does evoke a much better movie than the one we got. That said, like they barely speak in it.
Yeah.
To me, the issue with Suicide Squad was the really ham-handed dialogue. And I guess maybe a lot of that was improvised or rewritten the day of, but I can't imagine it was too different because I remember the report being that or the damage control report after the fact was that David Ayer had 6 weeks to write the whole thing. He turned it in and the studio was just like, all right, let's go. We have to hit this tentpole date. We're not going to spend more time developing the script or doing drafts and rewriting the story and stuff like that because it's just too much of a pain in the ass. So they just shot the movie he wrote on his first try. 6 weeks to write a movie is very quick. It usually takes a lot longer. And what's that, Joe?
Even saving the cat takes longer than that.
Saving that cat takes longer. They didn't even save the Slipknot. How are we supposed to know who to like? So it just seemed like a rushed kind of jumbled story. And I wonder how much of that you can save in editing. Like the thing had a million cuts. They showed what they shot to test audiences who I guess didn't like it. And granted, you can't trust them, test audiences, but we got there were 6 different competing cuts for the movie. And I don't think another cut is particularly going to help, because I think what's on the page is what's on the page. For me at least. And I'm a David Ayer fan. He'll always have Training Day. He wrote The Fast and the Furious, for God's sake. End of Watch is cool, Fury's cool, but I think he's hit a skid, and this might lead into why he can't get over this. It's like Suicide Squad. He went Suicide Squad, Bright, and then this last one, the tax collector, where Shia LaBeouf is saying essay at the end of every sentence. He's hit a run of bad luck. Let's just say bad luck. So maybe looking at Suicide Squad is that's where it all went wrong. I want another shot at that one. Maybe makes sense.
Getting the Ayer cut released breaks the gypsy curse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point on the dialogue, though, because as much as that trailer has a cool mood and feels atmospheric and better than the movie did, it still has the line where some kind of Suicide Squad, which I remember laughing about at the time, being because it was such a cliche, it was such a go-to joke, and that they actually did it. So yeah, I don't know, I don't know who wrote that line about Katana. What is the line about? That's Katana. Her blade collects
She's
the
got
souls.
my back. I'd advise not getting killed by her.
Yeah.
Her sword steals the souls of its victim.
But maybe this movie would have always had bad dialogue, but it would have had a cooler vibe to it. I don't know. But that is definitely something to still be concerned about.
I mean, I can forgive a lot of things with a cool vibe.
Yeah.
I can forgive a lot of bad dialogue if it's presented to me in a fun or cool way. The interesting thing to me was sort of watching this trailer, and Inside Baseball, Eric saved my butt, because I was very quickly this morning we should watch the original Comic-Con trailer real quick just to refresh, and then I posted the wrong one in Slack, and Eric saved me.
There were a lot of trailers for this movie.
Well, there were a lot of Comic-Cons before the movie came out.
Yeah, which also I had kind of completely forgotten about. I don't remember anything now before March of 2020 when we were told to stay at home. But you're right. There was so much leading up to this movie. But watching those 2 trailers together, the original announcement and then the finally, thanks Squad, the wait is over. Heck.
Which was just a couple weeks before the movie opened, because it
Right.
opened in August and that was Comic-Con in July.
All of a sudden, energy tentacles and the big weird Enchantress brother thing whose name I forgot, and just the difference with that stuff, and then the first cut, which was very much just all the talky scenes around the plot, and no sense of what the story was actually going to be about.
And that second trailer, the final Comic-Con trailer, it has what the movie has, which is it changes songs 3 or 4 times.
Yes.
So it's we're cool, we're hip, different, listen to all these different songs we have.
The bulk of those songs being Skrillex and Rick Ross's Purple Lamborghini, where we just watched the video where Jared Leto goes on a lovely boat ride with Skrillex and Rick Ross around the harbor.
Yes.
Which really should have just been the movie. If you ask me. I think the monkey's paw, Spencer, that you're sort of talking about, this is the start of a bunch of flops is mean and also not accurate. Bright did well. I think Netflix was happy for it. Who knows about the tax.
They announced a sequel that I don't know if it'll ever actually happen, but they announced one at the time.
I can't imagine that Brighter will happen. That there's got to be an interesting feeling as a filmmaker who is part of the is DC too grimdark or is it starting to suck debate. Snyder's getting his turn at bat. I don't know if we're going to make anything new anytime soon. That, would it behoove HBO Max to just be yeah, screw it. We're going to put up the original Ayer cut of Suicide Squad on HBO Max. It's going to be a 6-part limited series or
no, I mean, look, if they have it, I think that'd be awesome. If he really turned in a cut, like a finished cut, that doesn't need to bring back the actors and redo the effects, like, yeah, I would love to see what he's talking about. I just, I can't. The person who made Bright and Tax Collector is not of sound mind. I'm sorry, he's lost my trust. And again, like the movie he made before Suicide Squad was Fury, which is an all-time great dad movie. I mean, you got Brad Pitt, you got Shia LaBeouf, you got tanks, you got World War II. It's everything you want to see. So something happened during Suicide Squad that kind of just broke the Mirrorverse, and I also think that he probably isn't allowed to forget it because fans keep pinging him about it and saying like, release the Ayer cut. Like, there is a movement, more so than, I don't know, release the Life of Pi extended edition or something like that. Like, he's hearing about this daily, so it's probably hard for him to completely let it go.
It's this weird thing with comic book movies have sort of taken over. And again, I know I'm sort of hypocritical on this and that. I love comic books, I love comic book movies, but at the same time, it can feel like too much, where it's not like director's cuts are a new idea. And it's not like we didn't even get a Daredevil director's cut.
Which is much better.
Yeah, which is much better. It's just they were much more like low-key. Like, oh, we're going to put a director's cut on DVD now. Snyder Cut kind of made it weaponized in a different way. And it's going to happen around these mostly comic book movies, but I think just also genre movies. But, that's because it has the most vocal and sort of the fan bases that are most out there online and are gathering together, and like in the way the Life of Pi audience is not. So it's funny because on one hand, I'm like, is this a bad precedent? Like, even with the Snyder Cut, we wondered that, because every movie has a director's cut, right? Almost every movie has a rough cut, a earlier cut. Oh, we had this great scene, we cut it because we didn't think the pacing worked. And you could put out a different version of every movie. That doesn't necessarily mean you should, and that those are better.
And
at the same time,
like, oops, more boobies cut.
The more movies cut.
Yeah.
The Dukes of Hazzard had the more nudity cut on DVD. It's just a weird time, but I think, again, we talked about why the Snyder Cut even happened. The HBO Max kind of, it all became the perfect timing for them, being like, hey, this is something that can give us a lot of eyeballs. So who knows? They might decide, okay, I don't think they feel the same heat on them, plus the same, this will benefit us, as they did with Snyder with this movie. Yeah. But I also wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if one day it happens. But again, just like the Snyder Cut, where I thought one day that would have happened, but probably 10 years from now, it just is happening very accelerated because of HBO Max. Again, where people are running out of stuff to watch, to make, especially right now.
Yeah, it might cost them next to nothing to just release it.
Because I don't think they wouldn't put $70 million into this.
No. But I mean, if he's got it, like, it costs the subscription of a Dropbox account, I guess, to just like it to Warner.
And if it really is just like it's the movie re-edited with different song cues and stuff, that could be a very easy lift for them.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only reason why the question is even interesting is because of the 2020 of it all. Like, that's the only reason I think this would ever see the light of day. If it was like 2005 and everyone was just cranking on like DVD sales, sure, release 3 different versions of Suicide Squad and people will probably buy them. But this case of like, we're desperate for content and we can't safely make it. Oh, here's a completed movie that people will be curious enough to watch, I think is the only reason why this is, even a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you have a director who's willing to engage, like who's willing to stoke the fan demands, and like that can mean something to a studio. But it's like, I don't know, man. Like, when you sign on to make a comic book movie, you're making a deal with the devil, like DC or Marvel or really any big movie studio. It's like, it's not your movie anymore. Like, you're steering the ship, but like at the end of the day, you're steering it into their harbor and delivering them the goods that they then do whatever they want with it. Like, you got to know. I mean, I guess this was his first huge movie, but like, you got to know that it's not under your control anymore. Like, once you turn it in, right? Like,
yeah,
I guess, and that's what he's saying. Like, I was a good soldier and I didn't say anything, but like, I don't know. Like, you don't. this happens on every film. The studio's like, we like it this way. Thank you for your service, and then they take it from there.
And sometimes that way might be better, it's just, it's a toss up, but it's a great point about how he's a big proponent of it. He's pushing for it because you look, a counterpoint to that is Josh Trank, who has sort of spoken much more openly in the past few months about his cut of Fantastic Four, how much change, but then was like, I don't want to go back and restore my cut. Like it was a hellish experience. Yeah. I've now hopefully processed and moved on, but I don't want to go back and try to release the Trank cut.
That seems like a much healthier.
Right. But Ayer's like obviously really pushing this. Like he's getting out there a lot about it.
I'd be curious to see it just because I like the movies. And, I don't necessarily, just going back and watching that old trailer, like it looks cool because it's a trailer cut and there's cool music around it. But you can, I don't know, like the clunkiness is around it, just even the end scene with the elevator and then everyone stands and quietly watches Harley's, they all reflectively stare at Harley's butt as she walks out of the elevator. Like
that's the other trailer. That's the 2016 trailer.
Yeah. I'm so confused.
I know.
I was staring at her tank top, Joe.
Oh yeah. Yes. David, if anything else, David Ayer's Suicide Squad, watches Harley for the articles. Well, I guess, regardless, like they all feel clunky and weird to me if you take out, all the trim-ins, which is probably why they leaned into the trim-ins for the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
And still didn't end up with much. I want to pause. Well, actually, I'll ask you guys the question first, give you a chance to think about it, and then I'll plug the Fandom 5. So Jamie Wallhead in chat asked, what movie franchise that you actually enjoyed would you love to see recut or tinkered with or have a director's cut if you had the choice? A Fast and the Furious movie, Infinity War, Endgame, something like that. And while you ponder it, I'm going to plug the next Fandom 5, which is Star Wars. Answer 5 questions about Star Wars movies correctly, and you win money. It's great. It'll be October 30th. There's a link in the description that you can click on for more info and to RSVP. So they're always a good time. Come check it out. Come watch. Come participate. Again, money. It's cool. It's real. Yay. Answer Star Wars questions and win prizes. So that next time your parents are like, you spend too much time with the Star Wars, you can wave your winnings in their face and tell them that they're wrong. That's it, boys.
To answer that question, as a giant fan of the Mission Impossible movies, which I'm currently rewatching for my podcast, well, the second one's the only bad one to me, right? So is there a way to re-edit that and change it? I don't know. But my big pet peeve with the Mission Impossible movies is only 2 and 3 don't have the awesome flashing through the whole movie opening credits. So I want the new cut of Mission Impossible 2 and 3 with going through the whole movie in the opening credits so that the entire series feels together, unified.
You need that cohesive opening credits.
Yes.
I like that. I appreciate that.
I think that the stock answer, but a true one, is Lord and Miller's Solo. I think everybody wanted to see at least what they would do with it, given what we got. My personal one is Alex Cox, who made my favorite movie, or top 5, Repo Man, was the original director of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. But it was too weird. His script was too weird, and his take on it was too weird. There were multiple animated sequences. It broke all the rules, you guys. But Johnny Depp and Hunter S. Thompson were not in love with it, so he got replaced as the writer director with Terry Gilliam, I think.
Yeah.
Ended up making that movie.
Yeah.
But man, that's just a personal pairing of like it not just because I think that movie would have been cool, but like that derailed his whole career, and like he was just a really, really cool 80s filmmaker that I thought should have stuck around a lot longer, but that kind of blackballed him.
Yeah, that Lord and Miller thing, I mean, that's crazy to me because they directed almost an entire movie, granted one that would take many, many months of post-production special effects. But I would love to see it, and also feel we never will, because Star Wars, Lucasfilm and Star Wars in particular are so sort of quiet about all the issues done in their movies behind the scenes. They famously, wouldn't let the Force Awakens making of book come out because it was probably 2 warps and all. So I don't think we're ever going to see that Lord and Miller footage, but man, would I love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, the easy Star Wars Mark Rube in me wants to see the Trevorrow episode 3 just because the art book looked neat, and like that's enough for me to kind of go, oh, that movie would have been sick, just based on some cool concept art. But actually, something that I would actually like to see done is I'd like to see Two Towers and Return of the King cut together by the editor that did Fellowship, because Peter worked with Peter. We're on a first name basis. My boy Pete,
PJ.
My boy PJ worked with 3 different editors on those films, and I think that tonally, Fellowship is edited the best. Like, I think it really sets a pace, and then Return of the King gets a little, obvious, a little up its own butt sometimes, and then also a little too B movie sometimes, a little too Meet the Feebles sometimes. So I'd like to see his initial Fellowship editor recut the whole thing. I just think it'd be interesting. Also, Ryan, if folks are answering in the chat, I'd love to hear what they think.
There was a lot of Lord Miller love a little bit beforehand when we were doing segment 1. I'll grab some more right now.
Cool. Yeah. Hey, boys, you want to answer some questions from the chat?
Sure.
Let's kick it off. Jason Harvey asks, if you had a signature sandwich at a deli, what would be on it and what would it be called, baby?
Wow.
Oh, God,
if it's my signature sandwich, it's called the Spenny or something like that. Like,
yeah.
The dream is to have a sandwich named after you at a deli.
Yeah.
And mine personally, it'd be like a good Italian salami, a nice hard cheese, like maybe like a tapenade. Maybe that's too salty. I don't know. But like a salami cheese base on like a good fresh baked roll. That's what we're starting with. And I'll think about the fixins while you guys answer.
I'm listening to that.
Man, my problem is that my favorite deli sandwich is a corned beef on rye, but very plain. I don't like any fixings on it. So you just call it like a plain Eric, I guess.
Eric.
Which is just a corned beef on rye.
Into that. At first I was kind of thinking like, how can I merge like a spicy Italian with a grilled cheese sandwich? But then I got to thinking about Texas toast and what would be like my good Texas toast based sandwich. So I'm thinking, some kind of pulled pork with like a good like white Vermont cheddar Texas toast, and you'd call it the Joe Starr because that's my name.
That sounds actually very good. I would try the Joe Starr.
Now I just don't want to be here and I want to go eat.
I want a sandwich.
Yeah, you guys remember restaurants?
Vaguely.
Good sandwich picks, you guys, though. Let us know in the comments of this video what your signature sandwich would be. And then maybe someday we'll do a video where we make them.
Yeah, I realize mine now is just a muffaletta. But put some sunglasses on it. Call it the cool Spenny.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. It's like everybody's sandwich exists, but like, what's the Spencer twist?
Yeah, that's the twist. If I knew I wouldn't be here, I'd be making sandwich money.
Fair.
Big sandwich money.
Getting those sandwich dollars. Zach Harris says, question for the guys. Best gory 80s to 90s horror director. This is a very specific question. Who is the best like gory 80s to 90s horror director who went on to make some big studio projects? Sam Raimi, Peter Jackson, or John Carpenter?
Well, are we picking them based on their like the best gory horror movies, or the best like big studio work afterwards, or in totality?
Because it's tough because I feel like Carpenter didn't get like the at bat that Raimi and Jackson did.
Yeah.
I feel like if we had seen John Carpenter's Avengers Endgame, it'd be a slightly more fair conversation.
He got to make Escape from LA, right?
He did.
That's a big budget movie.
He went to Mars.
Yeah.
There were ghosts there.
Okay, that's fair. It goes to Mars. Perfectly stacks with the Spider-Man trilogy.
Yeah, I think for me, answering that question in totality, I guess I'd have to go Raimi simply because, like, I think Evil Dead 2 is, gory genius, And I love the Spider-Man movies. And so, yeah, he's done it all for me in a way, like, cause I'm not huge into the Lord of the Rings movies. I know, to the shame of everyone. But yeah, Raimi's kind of, he's hit a home run in both aspects, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like my favorite gory 80s, 90s horror director is Cronenberg, but did he make like big studio movies? Like,
I mean, The Fly.
He made The Fly. He made Existenz.
He did Suicide Squad.
He made there's the Cronenberg cut of Suicide Squad.
He gets killed in Jason X. That was really cool.
Yeah, I guess he never really broke out. So yeah, I'll second Raimi because get you a man who can do both. His great horror movies and great big studio projects.
Yeah, I mean Carpenter's one of my favorite directors of all time, but purely for this question, like I think Raimi hits the qualifications best. This also gives me a chance to dunk on that the tweet that everyone was dunking on the other day, where they showed the difference between a Raimi Marvel movie and a Disney Marvel movie. Did you see that spinning?
No.
Some guy was like, very like obviously. The old days, they made movies the real way, but the example, they were trying to say like Raimi's practical and the MCU is just CGI garbage. But the examples they use are Tobey Maguire being flung 10 feet on a harness, and then the portal shot from Endgame with zillions of people walking through them. And it was like, yeah.
Should have done that practically.
Yeah, and it was such a false equivalency because it's not like the Spider-Man movies, the Raimi Spider-Man movies have a digital Spider-Man in certain points that you can spot. And Sam Raimi is about to direct an MCU movie with Doctor Strange, and I think there's going to be some digital effects in it, guys. Yeah. So just have a feeling. So
I promise you that the Doctor Strange movie he makes, I wish it was, but I promise you that it's not just going to be Ted Raimi off camera flinging skeletons at Benedict Cumberbatch. Like,
yeah, there's a ton of CGI in the Spider-Man movies. I guess he means like Raimi does like practical camera movements. Is that what tricked him? Like because he still does like snap zooms, which is cool. But
love for the Raimi Spider-Man movies have become an entire subgenre of the video essay crowd, who are all usually kids ranging of my age, 27 or a year younger. So those Raimi Spider-Man movies were our first big movies. And so there is for the big video essays on YouTube, I'm not going to name them specifically, but there's a lot of, this was how they made Spider-Man right. And, some of those are warranted because of how the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies are, but it's become a huge, just like pre-MCU Marvel was better, that type of thing. It's there's a lot of videos like that on YouTube.
Well, we should do one of those too, so that we can get those young people clicks.
Hey, have any of you guys seen Maniac Cop?
No, I haven't.
I just watched it for the first time last week, and I knew it starred Bruce Campbell, but my pleasant surprise is a cameo by Sam Raimi as a reporter.
Nice.
So there was a whole little Sam and Bruce love going on in Maniac Cop.
I need to throw that on my list.
It's on Shudder.
Gotta check out Maniac Cop. Let's see here. Hus D21 asks, any good horror movie recommendations for the spooky season?
Well, I finally watched The Babysitter to watch The Babysitter 2. I really liked the first one on Netflix. It's McG. McG's back, baby. And he's making gory, fun.
In Pog form?
What's that?
In Pog form?
In Pog form. Behold, the ultimate Pog, McG. It's good. It's super good and light and fun, but also incredibly gory, which is always a plus. I also, for the first time, just watched Flatliners. That's a fun retro trip down memory lane. Yeah. Kiefer Sutherland, Julia Roberts, and Kevin Bacon all dying and coming back to life and getting haunted by a little 8-year-old. It's cool. It's very cool. It's very weird and 90s, and I think you'll have a good time. Like both the movie itself is pretty good, but also just like seeing the stars and the stuff around it and the retroness of it all is pretty satisfying too.
I've realized probably one of my at least top 5 horror movies is The Descent.
Yes.
So if you haven't seen The Descent, it's great. I can't recommend that one enough. Let's see here. I've been trying to go out of my way to watch a bunch of horror movies that I haven't seen before this year. The Ritual was really good. Totally recommend that one. I'm real snobby about like we saw too much of the monster and stuff like that. And so if you're like me and just one shot too much of your monster or ghost kind of puts you off. Like, I think The Ritual like nails it really well. And then I watched hey guys, tune in for content of me scrolling on my phone. I watched Baskin. Cameron Rice and Lon recommended it to me. I was not old enough to see it. It's really messed up and scary. And I think those will be my two big ones. Oh, and then Blood Quantum, which is a zombie movie about a group of survivors on a Native American reservation who discover that they are immune to the virus. And it's a little uneven. It's not sure if it wants to be Evil Dead or The Road. Like, it kind of tries to be both of those at once at times. But when it does the Evil Dead, it's very fun. Like, there's some very fun zombie kills in it. So those are my recs.
I will second you on The Descent, was I was actually going to mention as well, which I think is one of my favorite horror movies the past 20 years. A great freaky movie that it's doing a good job because it's freaky before the monsters show up, just because it does claustrophobia so well with these women crawling through these caves. Recently, I rewatched a couple movies I hadn't seen in a long time, which both held up, which was, we name dropped earlier, Cronenberg's The Fly, which it's really twisted and messed up and sad, and it's kind of fascinating. This was a huge studio movie, now owned by Disney. And People Under the Stairs, which I hadn't seen in a long time, Wes Craven movie, which I thought was really fun. I was happy my wife, who'd never seen it, really enjoyed it. It's a really weird one, but I think there's some cool stuff in it, and you can see a young Ving Rhames with hair, which is wild. And then a movie I had never heard of that it was crazy to me, was off my radar, but Fade to Black, which people were really excited, debuted on Shudder recently, and the reason they were excited was because I guess the movie is out of print all the time. One of the reasons might be because it uses footage from a lot of different studio movies that it's hard to clear. But Fade to Black is a 1980 slasher movie about a movie-obsessed guy. He's so into the movies who becomes a killer, and it's all over the place tonally, and it doesn't all work, but it's definitely fun. There's definitely and Mickey Rourke, a young Mickey Rourke, is in it as an incidental character, and a couple other people. And I quite enjoyed it, and I could also see why it's like this weird cult thing that people talk about that have been very off my radar. And Maniac Cop, of course, the classic, beloved Maniac Cop, which isn't really great.
Well, I got one more.
It's not great.
Yeah, one more.
Joe, not to interrupt your question, but can I just tease a bit of news that maybe we'll talk? It's breaking news. Maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow or the next day. I know, Eric, you're a theme park guy, so I'd love your take on this. Is that Lionsgate has revealed a first look at the John Wick open contract roller coaster?
What?
Set to be built in Dubai. It will offer riders a choice as they board. You can help John Wick, or you can hunt him, depending on which line you get in.
What? For one thing, this shouldn't be a roller coaster. It should be a spooky maze.
No, it's a roller coaster.
The Lionsgate theme park is amazing that it exists, and I really want to go there one day. But yes, that John Wick coaster.
Lionsgate theme park. Where is it?
In Dubai.
Oh, okay. I was like, did they buy up a random Kings Island or something in the States somewhere?
Action Park, yeah.
Yeah, did they buy up Action Park? Action Park is the John Wick
that is
attraction.
I think they have some really weird stuff there too, because of course it's like Lionsgate doesn't have a deep shelf of franchises. They have Wick, they've got Hunger Games, and they've got Saw. So it's like they had to do some strange. I'm trying to look it up right now.
Yeah, they've done Now You See Me really roller coaster too.
Yes, there you go. Who doesn't love the Now You See Me roller coaster?
Well, I have questions.
Maybe we'll do another episode about it. It just popped up. So
yeah, we'll definitely need to talk about this more, because I didn't even know that this theme park existed. So yeah, I'm kind of fascinated.
Road trip.
Hey, Fandom, will you pay to send us to Dubai to the theme park?
The answer is no. But that said, let us know in the comments what weird movies that don't have roller coasters do you think should have themed roller coasters, and tell us what the biggest moment in the roller coaster is. I want to hear your theme park pitches, so that theme park entrepreneurs can steal them from us and make a lot of money. That said, we got some more Star Trek goodness for you guys from our own Riley Silverman. We've got another Cram It that's a little more character focused. The new season started last week So again, if you're looking for like sort of a jumping on point without watching the previous seasons, we have got you covered on a sort of who's who and what are they up to of Star Trek Discovery characters, which is, well, we're about to show you this, but the show is now streaming on CBS All Access. The return of the critically acclaimed series Star Trek Discovery. The crew of the USS Discovery land in an unknown future. Now they will work together to restore hope to this new world. The new season of Star Trek Discovery now streaming only on CBS All Access, but the Cram It is streaming here right now. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Check this out.
The United Federation of Planets is the organization that the protagonists in the Star Trek franchise belong to. This union of planetary governments represents the themes of peaceful cooperation, scientific development, and the sharing of knowledge throughout a unified galaxy. The Federation plays a vital part in the storylines of all Star Trek, but if you're just jumping in with the current flagship series Discovery, you might need this handy guide to the history of the Federation up until the beginning of the series. The first major historical events of the Federation timeline were the Eugenics Wars of the 1990s. While these events were never depicted on screen and obviously have long since not happened in reality, in universe they were important due to the creation of the superhuman Khan Noonien Singh, who conquered nearly a quarter of the planet of Earth and was a bit of a thorn in the side of Captain James T. Kirk. The next major event, and something we can still look forward to in the near future of the 2020s, is the Bell Riots. The US government attempted to solve immense levels of poverty, unemployment, and homelessness through the creation of sanctuary districts, which promised to be a safe haven for those impacted by harsh economic conditions, but were ultimately just internment camps. The sanctuary districts became slums, a dumping ground for the trod upon to be forgotten by society, until a violent uprising, led by a man named Gabriel Bell, were so intense that the government was forced to abolish the districts and actually deal with its social issues. After the riots, America entered a golden age of... World War III started. The global conflict was largely focused on genetic engineering and genome enhancement and lasted for nearly 30 years. 10 years after the end of World War III, Dr. Zephram Cochrane designed and tested humanity's first ever warp drive, the faster-than-light technology that makes deep space travel possible. The warp signature from his ship attracted the attention of the Vulcans, leading to humanity's first contact with an alien race. The events of this meeting were depicted in the film titled, First Contact. The Vulcans helped humanity deal with the underlying environmental and societal issues that led to poverty and disease, and ultimately humanity organized themselves under a single united Earth government. Relations between humanity and the Vulcans grew tense, however, as humans began to feel like their alien friends were holding them back from their development potential. Mostly because the Vulcans were holding them back from their development potential. Humanity's new interest in space travel would only deepen. In 2067, the United Earth Space Probe Agency, a precursor to Starfleet, launched its first truly deep space probe, Friendship 1, in order to reach out to the cosmos and encourage alien species to send their own signals back. Unfortunately, it did crash on an alien world whose residents weren't scientifically advanced enough to utilize its tech and caused the nuclear winter. Oh, whoops, our bad. In 2119, a still-kicking Zephram Cochrane opened the Warp 5 complex with the intent of building ships that could move at Warp 5, the speed that would ultimately allow manned vessels to explore deep space and something boldly go where no man has gone before, something. In the 2130s, USPA integrated with Starfleet in what was totally not just a retcon of the previous name having been used on the original series instead of Starfleet.
Our authority is the United Earth Space Probe Agency.
One section of Starfleet's charter, Article 14, Section 31, allowed for extraordinary measures to be taken by Starfleet in times of extreme threat. This manifested in the form of Section 31, a clandestine Black Ops organization that was both part of Starfleet and yet operated independently from it with full autonomy, sort of like the space CIA. In 2151, Zephram Cochrane's vision was finally realized with the launch of the NX-01 Enterprise. The ship, captained by Jonathan Archer, would mark the first manned deep space mission in humanity's history. As humanity explored more of space, the Romulan Star Empire, an alien interstellar superpower that had long descended from renegade Vulcans, began to grow fearful of the threat that a partnership between Earth and Vulcan represented to their own dominance of power in the nearby regions of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Alpha Quadrant. They attempted to manipulate the Vulcan government into preventing further explorative freedom in the galaxy, and also attempted to spark hostility between Earth, Vulcans, and two other alien races, the Andorians and Tellarites, through the use of disguised drone ships that would attack civilian vessels. This attempt backfired, however. When the Enterprise crew uncovered their plot, it led to an alliance between the four races, who worked together to defeat the Romulans and paved their way for conversations like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we all formed together into like a united coalition of planets? This coalition was largely opposed by a xenophobic group of humans calling themselves Terra Prime, whose leader tried to destroy the coalition and convince the various planets that they could never work together. But going up against Scott Bakula in a charisma off is kind of like bringing a knife to a gunfight. Captain Archer made an impassioned plea to the coalition planets for the idea of exploring the cosmos together.
The final frontier begins in this hall. Let's explore it together.
Just when it seemed like this group might somehow form a family, those pesky Romulans dropped in again and the Earth-Romulan War began. This conflict, lasting till 2160, only solidified the alliance between the coalition planets. And in 2161, they thought, well, heck, let's just make this official, signing the San Francisco Treaty. Okay, it's not actually called that, but the pun is right there. The United Earth Starfleet now combined with the other planet space programs to become the Federation Starfleet, with a charter established to boldly go where no man has gone before. Soon the doors opened on Starfleet Academy, ready to train in a whole new generation of space cadets. Around 2168, the Prime Directive becomes officially codified as part of the Federation's charter. This group of policies revolves